Yes, so welcome everyone. As some of you know, my name is Arzish Azam. I run an organization called Ejad Labs. We happen to be I say, the coolest and most active ecosystem organization in Pakistan. We run literally the largest tech conferences inside and outside Pakistan and the largest technology exchange programs. We started the whole thing doing it privately, and then over the past 4 years, we've took some 150 plus startups, digital leaders, ecosystem builders to Silicon Valley, to London, to Europe, and other ecosystems around the globe. The reason we do all of this is that we want to grow and promote the startup and tech ecosystem of Pakistan. So our programs are not just for the cool startups like you all today, but also for the IT outsourcing industry, the remote workers, essentially everyone connected to the tech ecosystem. And that's why we're able to kind of make these connections between different parts of this industry. This program is particularly very important to us because we personally, like I personally, wanted to do something like this for a very long time. There are a lot of startups like you who have created an amazing product, who have uh, received some initial traction, whether that's customers or users. And there are a number of challenges that we think you face. And with this program, our hope is to help you solve these challenges, whether that is by organizing these uh, by like twice monthly workshops, or mentoring, or helping with technology, and then all the resources and perks shared by AWS. So just I'll just give you an overview of what we've covered also in the founder toolkit. Is that you've joined the WhatsApp group. There's also Slack community, which is larger than this program. So there are some 400 people in that Slack group, which are also from around the world, people working in top tech companies, top entrepreneurs. So that's the reason we invited you to join that Slack. Is that number one, you can connect with other startups that are participating in this program, but also with all these amazing people who are in the Slack from around the globe for the purpose of helping Pakistani startups. The other one we shared was our Airtable list, which we've developed over the past year, of some 700 people from around the world, entrepreneurs, investors, people from the government, people who are working in top tech companies. We want you to connect with them. We want you to get mentorship with them or make friends with them. And we are here to kind of make those introductions. The reason we created this Airtable was so when someone asks us to connect or make an introduction, we don't have to we don't have the capacity to look into like 700 people, but maybe if we share it with you and you take out the time and filter the people and just let us know, we'll make that email introduction and make sure that a conversation uh, gets started. The other perk that we were particularly excited to offer is that we launched this Ejad Plus service recently, which helps you set up a company in the US, set up a bank account, PayPal, Stripe, all of the other associated services, which enable you to, number one, take care of international payments and all the problems that generally Pakistani startups have. But also, if you incorporate in Delaware, a lot of international investors and even some Pakistani investors prefer that legal structure. So that it generally costs $500, but for this group of startups, we've waived that, and some 10 plus of you have already signed up to that service. So we're excited to make that happen. The other thing was the intro call. So I think I've had an intro call with more than 10 startups over the past week, and I'm looking forward to talking to more of you. The reason is that we want to get your background in this like 15-minute call, so that we can kind of connect the dots in our mind moving forward. That maybe Farhan needs to connect with people who have technical expertise, right? Like as we discussed, so we can kind of make those uh, connections in our mind and keep working on this. Just to cover today's agenda, so I was supposed to take 5 minutes. I think I started late, but I'll just wrap this up, and then I'll hand it over to Kai for the next 15 minutes to share his perspective on why AWS is doing this and how they generally help startups grow and scale, not just in Pakistan, which they're doing a lot now, but around the world, some of the biggest companies. And then we'll have Ali Mukhtar with us for his workshop. With this, before handing over to Kai, I'd like to introduce my team, which I call. So I'm the CEO. I run Ejad Labs, and then we asked Shahab to please to take out time and then lead this program. And then Umar has been calling you and coordinating with you and all of the other things that adding you to the WhatsApp group. So we are going to be here with you for hopefully the next 5 months till December, and we hope that by the time this program finishes, COVID finishes first, so that we can meet you in some physical event as well. And with this, I'll hand it over to Kai. Yeah, Kai, you are on mute. Okay, now you're on.
Awesome. Thanks for the introduction, Ajis. I'll take over the screen now. Just give me a minute. If you can see my screen, can you just type OK in the chat window?
Yeah, we can.
Awesome. Yeah, so I think to Ajit's point, really proud to be supporting this initiative. I think that the goal is really, for us to find out the next generation of high growth, high potential startups in Pakistan, and really, find out a way to, support you guys in a really scalable way, and through technology and business support together. So in my session, I'll focus more on the different initiatives that AWS have in store for startups in Pakistan, and how you can actually leverage on the different startup programs that we have designed and also have available for you to help you grow and scale along your journey. Just before moving to the agenda, just want to also introduce the core team that is covering the Pakistani startup ecosystem. So I think one of the amazing things about AWS is that we do have a dedicated startup team to support startups. So as you can see here, there are three main functions. There's the sales function, the social architect, which are the technical experts. So they are kind of like our Iron Man, and also the business development team that have myself and Danning. So so I just want to take like 1 minute for everyone who joined us today from the team to just say hi to the startups here. Catherine, do you want to go first? Our Captain Marvel, who's always on the front line.
Sure, thanks, Kai. Yeah. Good afternoon to you all, and really happy and excited to be here. And big thanks to the organizer to be bringing us all together. So I look after customer in Pakistan, and with a strong focus in startups. We're really passionate about this segment of the business, and yeah, really looking forward to be working with you and help you scale on AWS. And I wish everybody a great session ahead. Over to you,
Awesome.
Danny.
Thanks, Kat.
Thanks.
Danning, where are you hiding? Danning, do we have
Hey, sorry.
Sunil here with us?
Hey, I don't think so.
Okay, no worries. Yep, it's your turn to just do a brief introduction.
Hi, sorry, I had to step out. My kid was making noise. Let me pull on the video again. Hi, guys. Yeah, very happy to be here. I met up with Azish last year actually at Momentum in Karachi. Azish was really kind to help us on our AWS booth. It was really enlightening to meet him, along with Riaz. I don't know if Riaz is here. I work with Kai, the both of us, and we have expanded our team to cover the Pakistan region. Our goal is really simple, it's really just to help startups succeed in every way, leveraging on our resources, our network, ourselves, and our team. To people who have spoken to me before, for those who are in AWS, anyone who speaks to me about Pakistan, I tend to get a little bit emotional about Pakistan. Maybe because I have had the real privilege to have met amazing people in Pakistan, the likes of Azish, who has left a deep impact on me. And I try to share, that with everyone as best as I can. I really believe in this ecosystem. It's really in its early days. I find everyone amazing. I find the founders amazing. I find the female founders very amazing. I was quite blown away by some of the pitches that I heard and the people that I interacted with. So definitely very keen to, overextend ourselves, as much as we can to help grow the Pakistan ecosystem for the long term. AWS, Amazon, we really look at everything from the lens of a long term perspective. And I don't know if Sunil is here, but really looking forward to coming back up and visiting everyone across Pakistan, not just in Karachi.
Awesome. Thanks, Danny. Yeah, so this is the core team, and I thought it's really a good opportunity to introduce to the team to everyone here. As at different point, at a different stage, you might need to have a chat with us on some of the technical needs or business needs that you have. So moving on to the main agenda of today, it's really about how tech startups like yourself can leverage on our programs to grow and scale. And I think before we go into the details of the program, I just want to highlight some of the key things about Amazon. To some of you, you may know that our mission is kind of unique. It's not about being the biggest bookstore or biggest e-commerce or biggest cloud provider in the world, but our mission here is really to be the most customer-centric company on earth. So it can really extend beyond anything that our customers need. And the same goes to how AWS got started. So our commitment, our number one commitment is always about how we can create more innovative solutions to help our customers to solve their needs. And this is how we, one of the things that we do is to work backwards to really look at the problem statement, and from there on start to look at what kind of solution we can design to and we like to run a lot of experiments. You can say that AWS is like a startup within a startup like Amazon. Some of the really key principles that Amazonians practice when we carry out our job, when we think about how to help customers, customer obsession comes in really important. And as to Danny's point, there's a lot of long-term thinking about how we are working with startups, as we know that it takes quite a long time for startups to reach a point of sustainability, and we are here to really help startups at every stage of your journey to growth. And so we are very experimental, as I mentioned just now. Like we're willing to have multiple different failures and iterations just to keep tweaking different programs and initiatives to help startups. And I believe that the program that RGS is running today is another example of experiment that we're running. And based on your feedbacks, we'll keep tweaking and make different iterations to make this program better suit to help you with your growth. So, so just the introduction of what AWS do for some of you who may not know what are the core services that we provide. So basically, AWS is the Amazon's cloud computing business unit, and we have been innovating for different business customers since 2006 by providing on-demand availability of computing power and database storage via the internet with a pay-as-you-go pricing. So from a perspective, it's just like paying for electricity that you use. Has been really about to both the point for the speed and efficacy of business, how it's really relevant to startups. You can see a flywheel effect here. Because of the pay-as-you-go pricing model, startups like yourself do not have to estimate how much computing resources to provision and pay for the resources that you use, much like you would for utilities such as electricity. And because of this, it allows you to launch faster The on-demand infrastructure allows startups like yourself to spin up resources in a matter of minutes with just a few clicks of a mouse instead of weeks or even months that it would take to set up hardware. So this increases the agility of startups, and speed is really critical for startup. And because of this, right, it allows startups to experiment at low risk, right, thanks to the cost and efficiency benefits of the cloud. And startups often, their hypothesis might not be right all the time and their ideas might fail. But the advantage they have with cloud computing is that they can experiment at small scale and in multiple iterations without risking upfront investments that they made in servers or owing ongoing payments if they decide to deprovision servers. So the ultimate benefit in this is that, experimenting often will also increase the likelihood of finding the right direction to success. So, all these different benefits combined, it really allows you to focus on your core business value, right? Startups should be great at and focus on the service and product they provide to customers, not the provisioning, operating, and maintaining hardware servers. So by allowing AWS to oversee these tasks and provide IT infrastructure services, startups can invest more of your limited resources and time into actually growing your business. So moving on, just want to give you an idea of, the different solutions that we provide. As you can see, we offer the broadest and deepest functionality in different areas from database to servers to security and many, many more. And I think, in this slide is really something that's really cool. We also offer the broadest and most complete set of machine learning capabilities. As you can see here, there are 3 layers. In the top layer is something that is really cool that we developed and adopted from Amazon.com own capabilities. All these services, AI services that is listed in the top layer, they are all API based. So that means that if you only have developers without any machine learning specialists or data scientists in your team, you can actually make use of these AI services to enable your platform to have image recognition analysis, video recognition analysis, text-to-speech, speech-to-text, forecast capabilities, and even personalized recommendation and engine. So, if you're interested to explore and understand more about these solutions, happy to share with you further later. I just want to talk a bit about our team as well, the Global Startup Business Development team. So AWS is really more than just a technology company, and there are a lot of initiatives that we do and focus on are non-technical. For example, in this team we have a dedicated team of exited startup founders, former investors, and startup executives that are really aligned with VCs, accelerator programs, and other startup organizations to help their portfolio companies like yourself with their business and technical needs. And these are some of the notable organizations that we work with globally, include Y Combinator, Techstars, Sequoia Capital, and some of the regional players, for example, 500 Startups and Gobi, many more. Right? So our startup team covers more than 6 countries in Southeast Asia and Pakistan, and more than 20 countries worldwide, with relationship to these investors of the same pedigree. And this is an overview of the different tech startups that we work with across the region. As you can see, some of the local champions like Vikia, Alif can also be found here as well. So what do our team do as a startup business development team? We don't invest cash for equity, but we do invest our time, knowledge, experience, and resources across Amazon that can open doors and remove obstacles for startups to further their growth. And the team has a network across AWS teams and regional borders, and we're able to leverage their global footprint to connect startups to resources where they need and champion startups internally. Our team hires people with direct experience with building startups so that we can always act in your long-term interests. By doing so, we aim to build a lasting relationship with startups. And these are some of the resources that we provide, include technical guidance, but also sales and marketing resources on Amazon's platform, benefits from AWS startup programs, making introductions to investors or enterprises where there's potential partnership, and general business mentorship in some cases. So there's a list of different startup programs that I would love to share. In the interest of time, I might flash through some of these programs. But if if you'd like to learn more after this session, feel free to reach out to me. So the programs that we have for startups are typically broken down into 3 phases, from beginning with AWS to growing with AWS and eventually scaling together with AWS. So for beginning with AWS, it's most suited for startups that are just starting to build up their product. They're still validating their business. And typically the startup journey starts with Activate program. So we work with accelerators, incubators, seed funds, and other early stage investors to provide support at the early stage, mainly through the Activate program. So if you are a portfolio company of one of the participating organizations that we work with, and and for those that have been shortlisted in this startup growth series program, you can have access to AWS resources that will quickly help you get started, including credits for your AWS usage, business support plan, which give you access to technical support, self-paced lab credits for training on AWS, office hours with our solution architect, which are the Iron Man that I showed you in the previous slide, and a chance to be featured on our marketing channel. So if you would like to understand more about the Activate program as part of the Startup Growth program, do reach out to Ajis or the team in Ejad Labs or myself so that we can also advise you on your credit eligibility. And I think sometimes startups, they might not have started their journey with AWS, but don't worry, we're still here to assist. If you're considering, testing or building some of your workloads or moving them from other cloud to AWS, we'll be happy to explore using this program to help you offset the cost of migration within a given time frame and also provide technical support during the execution. And one of the interesting things that we also have is technology funding that allows startups to explore AI and machine learning on AWS. So as I mentioned, there are a suite of AI-based solutions that startups can explore without worrying about the machine learning specialist or data scientist team. And if you'd like to understand more about the solutions and how you can leverage on the technology funding to just run some proof of concept, happy to reach out to me. Happy to discuss this further later. And it'll also be a series of trainings and workshops to help you understand more about AWS and how you can leverage on our solution to scale. And all these trainings are run consistently, and there'll also be one-to-one consultation just to understand where you are now and how we can help you. So feel free to engage us in this session as well. And in the next phase is where, growing with AWS, where you probably have developed your MVP and you start getting some traction. This is where, we'll actually feature really interesting startups. As you can see, these are some of the case studies that we have with local startups, where we really, where we find really interesting use case. And, we just want to really talk about how you have been building your product on AWS. We also have our own podcast channel where we feature interesting founders. We also have our own blog posts where startups will actually, share the best practices on how they are building their product on AWS. And all these, are one of the many ways that we are helping startups to gain more exposure as well. And the other thing that we often do with startup is this framework called well-architected review. So this framework is designed to actually help you to build a platform that is really secure, high-performing, and resilient. And so an AWS solution architect, which are our technical experts, will actually walk you through a framework of 5 pillars to assess, how scalable your platform can be. So, this is the overview of the framework with the 5 pillars. And essentially, it really helps you to think about the question of scalability and cost efficiency, for example. Like, the questions that we usually go through this session is really getting started to think about, for example, if you're having a campaign or promotion next day, is your platform going to be crash? Or, how are you going to take care of that surge in traffic without any disruption to your customer experience? So these are the kind of things that we actually, talk to startups about and help them to figure out a way to take care of all these, exciting challenges. And Of course, capital is a requirement for any startup to grow. So we do have a program called Capital Connect, where we connect high potential early stage startups with a network of seed and series investors. And this program really focuses on high quality and relevant funding sources so that we can help startups to raise capital that they need to grow their business. And we usually connect startups with investors through two means. One is direct one-to-one introductions with the VCs that we work closely with. And the other one will be through a speed dating event. So for example, we're running a VC speed dating event with Tata Kwan, and it's going to happen this coming weekend. And yeah, so if you would like to be part of this program, feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to understand your business and how we can connect you with our investors network. So the next phase is scaling with AWS, where you have got your traction and you're thinking about scaling out to a different vertical or maybe even a different territory, right? So one of the very interesting programs that we have in store to support startups, for example, if you are a B2B or SaaS product, you can actually work with us as a partner. We have this program called APN Global Startup Program, where we actually assign a dedicated startup partner development manager with deep AWS knowledge and startup business experience to help you to go to market with AWS. And the APN program consists of a tier structure for partners to grow your business, which will range in the number of benefits from proof of concept credit, technical training, sales and business enablement support, and core marketing opportunities. And so basically through this program, software startups can actually accelerate their sales cycle by joining this community. Because as we work with very many different customers in different verticals, from SMBs to enterprises, all these different customers may have their own technical needs in terms of building their solution on AWS or a specific gap. For example, an ERP system or a HR management system where they might need a solution like yourself, a solution that you are providing, and that's where we actually match the technical needs from the enterprise or an SMB with a startup that is providing a solution to actually create that kind of partnership opportunity and help grow the startup business. So this is a summary of the different startup programs that we have available for startups that are part of this program today. So if you would like to learn more about this program, do engage me directly. Yeah, feel free to reach out to me. I'm also in the WhatsApp group that Ajit has created. I believe most of you are already there. Happy to understand more about your startup and looking forward to helping you out through this session. I'm sorry that I took up more time than expected, Ali. Thank you so much for your patience. And without further ado, let me just hand it over to Ali today to talk about fundraising. Thank you, everyone.
I think thank you for inviting me, and it was great to join early. I learned a few new things today. That was great. So,
yeah,
would you like me to start?
Yeah, please go ahead. And again, thank you so much for joining and taking out the time.
Sure. So just as a background, a bit on myself, I came back to Pakistan from the US back in 2014. That's when really I got excited in looking at the startup and investment space in Pakistan. I think in 2014 we had about nearly about 35 million internet users, but growing at 1 million users a month. So we sort of took a long-term view into what really is coming into the country, right? And you had sort of seen this story play out in many countries around Pakistan. So what we did is we set up a pilot project in which we started investing into a few startups, invested in about 7 startups from 2014 to 2016. It was more of a experiment, and I would call it a startup for us as well, into learning how to work with founders, how to help them scale, how to build teams, and take them to the next milestones. So that's what we were doing. Then in 2017, we partnered with the National Incubation Center in Lahore to jointly run the incubation programs there. Had a lot of learnings there, and I think it's a continuously growing platform, and we're excited to see many startups come out of there, do well, but also we've seen a lot of people come out of there who then join other startups and then continue to add value there. In 2019, we partnered with Gobi Partners, which is a fund based out of China and Southeast Asia. And the reason for that was that they had invested in over 300 companies in China and Southeast Asia, managed several funds, and then sort of saw the journey in early days of China, as well as early days of countries like Indonesia and others. So we thought with that perspective, we can really add a lot of value to the companies we're looking at Pakistan. And then what we did is we sort of set up a co-managed fund where we have a joint team. Here, our parent company, which is the Fatima Group, we also structured their support into the program. So the group employs over several thousand employees that can be leveraged across legal, HR, finance, any other matters, maybe something in government relations. So that's how overall we've been structured. In terms of our investments from this new fund, we've done Airlift. We were very early investors into Airlift. And then more recently, we've invested into a company which is connecting FMCGs to retailers in Pakistan called Tajir. It's also the first company that was part of IC focused on the Pakistani market. So that's what we're doing over the next, this year, next year, we're looking to make several more investments. We're engaged with different founders and look forward to meet some of you, answer different questions that you might have in terms of fundraising. So that's a bit about me, what I've been doing over the past few years. In terms of now the topic today, I know this is an investment workshop. So what I'll do is I'll talk about a bit on how for startups, how can they approach VC funds, when is the right time, and how do you structure those conversations. And then I think most of the time, I think it'd be better used if I can answer direct questions for the audience today. So just let me see if I can I do screen sharing?
Yes, you can.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, we can see the screen.
Okay. I think this is overall, the landscape of the kind of different investors that are usually available in a given market. I know this may vary from country to country. For example, some countries, the governments might have, huge research programs, huge corporate research programs as well, which is I think in some sectors in Pakistan it's available, but in many it's not. In the industry as well, in some cases it's available, but in many cases it might not be extensive. But overall, depending on what kind of company you are, these are the different options of fundraising available, right? Especially if you're sort of an early stage company which is making a hardware product or a medical device. Even before you can hit the market, you require a substantial amount of funding to sort of be at the place where you can reach more financial investors or what you would call VC investors. But in some cases, the fundamental research and all those are available, and you're using that to build on top. This is where I think typically you'll, depending on what stage you are, you can go to angels, VCs, as well as corporate VCs. For corporate VCs, mostly their investment strategy is around investing into things that might complement their existing businesses. But now we're seeing more diversified corporate strategies as well, where they want to invest into technology from a diversification standpoint rather than strengthening their existing position. Then as you go later stage, you have PE funds that are available. And then as you go on to even further, then you have the debt market available, you have banks that are ready to finance you, and then obviously the public markets when you're in the later stage thinking of listing your company. So why I mention and sort of lay out the universe is it's important to know at what stage of the company you're at and when to reach the right kind of investors. So it's better use of your time and their time, and I think the conversion of your conversations can also be higher. If I speak about specifically on the venture side, I think this is a slide I took off. I think this is from Stanford, and you can sort of scale this to what could be more applicable to Pakistan. But on average, this is the kind of stage based on investment size, what the right source might be, how much runway you should look for, and different milestones, right? So typically, in a founder journey, you create a team. I think that's fundamental in terms of early stage investments. Most people will, first create that founder conviction before they take the next step. So when you're reaching out to investors, I think having that strong team clearly laid out who adds what to the company is important. Then obviously you need to have a plan on what the next few months look like. At this stage, I think it's better to have weekly plans, and then as you grow, you can take them to monthly plans and then quarterly plans. So that's typically the first milestone. I think that's when you raise. I think the goal of this raise is to reach to the next milestone, which is sort of getting your early customers, testing out the product, making sure your early customers are satisfied and are using the platform. So a lot of those metrics on early days are extremely important. And as you grow, milestones sort of start adding. So the next step would be scaling that business. The step after would be going towards positive unit economics and ultimately profitability, growth, and exit strategies. So that's typically what the VC, how the VC market works. And then based on where you are in your journey, I think you need to know what the fund's mandate is and then approach them accordingly, right? So if you're at seed stage and you are reaching out to funds that might not do early stage funding and might only be interested in growth stage, so the conversion likelihood is very low. But then in other markets, there are funds that do all stages. They're multi-stage funds that will do from early stage all the way to late stage. So understanding what each fund's mandate is, what kind of companies they invest in, what kind of verticals they invest in, I think that's how you need to make your list of VCs or investors that you need to reach out to. But obviously the first step of funding in many cases will not be institutional investors. It will be, your immediate circle. It could be your mentors. It could be your family, your friends, that can, give you the seed money to sort of get to your first milestone and early validation. Okay, so generally, I think the next thing I would talk about is essentially at each step of your financing, investors are essentially coming in, and the founder is at each milestone sort of de-risking the business, right? And the more the business is de-risked, the valuation is higher, and the return expectation for founders is lower, right? So early stage investors will on average, I think return expectations for each investor may vary, but will look for typically 10 to 15x between seed and Series A, and as you go down the journey, those return expectations, because your risk profile is also reducing, starts to reduce. So I think that's important. And then I think on top of the graph, again, the milestones that I talked about in the previous slide, at each stage, obviously these are generalized. This again may vary from the type of company you're building, but that is essentially what investors are looking for at each stage of financing. Some things are definitely changing. For example, the conversations around unit economics are now coming on even into the early days, given the larger context and learnings that I think the industry has had over the last 1 or 2 years. And that is having a trickle down effect all the way to early stage investors. So these conversations might be your Series C conversations or beyond, but are now in some cases even going to come at the very early days of your journey, right? I think in terms of so that's what I have in terms of sort of on what the landscape looks like. Now, in terms of how to approach an investor, I think what you need to do is first sit down and make a list. I think you should go in with the expectation that maybe 70% or 80% of people will say no to the investment. You need to have researched what the company you're reaching out, what they do, how many investments they make, what kind of investments they make, if they clearly publicly have listed a mandate. I think a lot of those are becoming increasingly available. Once you make that list, then you need to, figure out the right way to approach them. Generally, I think there's no hard and fast rule, but what's recommended is if you can reach out through a common network. That common network could be founders that the fund might have already invested in. So referral through there. It could be through other people that might know that particular fund well, or it could be direct as well. But having recommendations, usually we've seen adds to a higher conversion. So figuring that out is also important. In terms of uh, again, we briefly mentioned on what VCs look for. In Pakistan, I think most of the funds right now are pre-seed to Series A, and then post that you have a lot of funds that are outside of Pakistan but have increasing appetite and interest for Pakistan. So when you're also scouting for local VCs or investors, I think it's important to also give weight to what kind of value add can they bring to your startup, and that value add can be access to future rounds of funding. It could be access to help your company grow, and that could be in various kinds of support. And it could be mentorship, it could be access to customers, it could be some other benefits that they can help you with and have had experience with. So definitely, the concept of finding a smart investor rather than just a financial investor is an equally important consideration as you reach out to different investors in the ecosystem, both locally as well as externally. So with that, I think I'll open the floor and then answer any questions that you guys might have.
Hi everyone, this is Shahab. Thank you, Ali. So we're doing this in segments. This was the first segment. So whoever has questions, if they can keep raising their hands, and then you can ask Ali your question directly. I think Jason has a question, so you can go first, and then we'll go on with the second segment of the session. Jason, you should be able to unmute yourself now. If anyone else has any questions, please keep raising your hands and then we'll go.
Hi, Ali. This is Jason. Am I audible?
Yeah, I can hear you, Jason.
Yeah, I just had a quick question. I saw your slides, and there's a slide with the seed of with a runway of 6 to 12 months runway. And then I saw another slide that says 15x multiple that the investor expects on an average return. Is that a norm, 15x for seed money with a runway of 6 to 12 months?
So the question is 6 to 12 months an adequate amount of runway, or what is the question?
The question is that an adequate runway to expect a return on investment, just from your slide?
No. So typically early stage funds will be, it can vary, but typically it will be a 10-year fund, 7 to 10-year fund with maybe 2 to 4 year investment period, and then post that whatever amount is left as the harvest period, right? So that return expectation is over a period of time, and the runway means, I think for Pakistan, companies should optimize for longer runways, and especially given the current scenario, because from one round to the next, it typically takes longer. But as capital supply increases, I think those problems and challenges will be solved. But the 15x expectation is not over a 6 to 12 month period. It's over the life of the investment.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so Ali, the presentation is done. I believe you also have to leave, right, in a little while. So we can just go on with the all the question and answers, or do you have any other material that you want to go through?
No, I think that's what I have. Unless you want me to cover a specific topic, I can.
Okay, perfect. So I think Nofal can go next to ask the question.
Hi, Ali. You guys hear me?
Yeah.
All right. So we are Swag Kicks. We are essentially an online store for pre-loved shoes, and we aspire to be thread up for the emerging markets. So my question is, if we are like getting seed even from a local investor, is it advisable to incorporate in Pakistan, or is it like advisable to go to Dubai or Singapore to incorporate your company, keeping in mind future rounds and of course a potential exit?
Yeah. So I think this is something I think all of us are working with various regulators in the country, and it's sort of sort of the trade-off is, because if you're incorporating outside, that sort of leaves out a lot of investors that might be your local investors, that might have to go through getting the right approvals to be able to invest in your company. And at the same time, because right now I think there is a lot of progress that's being made in getting the right frameworks in place for startups to be able to incorporate in Pakistan. That's definitely the end goal, but at the moment is sort of keeping foreign investors out because those right policies are not in place. So I think depending on what you're seeing in terms of your investors, I think those decisions should be made then. But there are merits for both, right? And even in terms of funds, some funds are set up here, some funds are set up abroad. So I think that really depends on who your investor set is at that point. And hopefully, I think both on the policy side and different departments that are involved, we're seeing them have a much better response and implementation in the last 2 years, and then different policies are now coming to facilitate startups being set up both locally and abroad.
All right, thanks a lot.
Farhan, I think you can go next. You should be able to unmute yourself.
All right, thank you. Ali, thank you very much for taking out the time, being with us, and for the information that you shared. My name is Farhan. I'm the founder of Sare Music. We are a music streaming app for Pakistani classical music with content that's not available anywhere else. You can call us the Spotify premium for the genre. I have a couple of questions in terms of your fund size, your mandate, your deployable funds, your typical ticket size. And you mentioned that in Airlift, you were very, very, very early. What does that mean in terms of specific metrics or traction that you saw when you invested in Airlift?
Sure. Okay, so I'll start with, I think, the first overall. Right now, our fund is it's an early stage fund. It's 20 million USD. We typically invest between early stage between 100K to Series A, where we can do up to 2 million. So that's the average range of our investments at the moment. And then we have a large investor network that is invested into our fund. So if companies are raising beyond that, so we can invest directly into those companies and also do larger tickets. So that's how we're set up. In terms of our investment mandate, to be honest, at the moment we're agnostic across different verticals, but definitely what we've seen, sort of similar trends emerge in what we've experienced with our partners in China and Southeast Asia. A lot of companies are coming in sort of very similar verticals. So we do look for investment comparable in other markets when we're making our decisions, and sort of see how that's planned out. In terms of your next question, which was at what stage, I think Mostly we do deals which have some form of traction, and that's where the fund would come in. So it depends. In some cases, for example, in Airlift's case, they sort of came and launched their operations from. So we have an office space. Right now, obviously, it's shut because of COVID, but where we on various, it's not a typical accelerator where a batch comes in every 6 months, but every now and then companies that apply to the fund but don't really meet those metrics yet, we offer them, free space to start working out of our offices. And then we, build a better relationship, see how those companies are growing. And then the fund takes a position into it. So Airlift from day one, I think, when they were a one-person team to now a much larger team, started from that office, and then the fund took an investment position and followed on in subsequent rounds.
So at that point, they didn't have any customers.
When they started, no. I think they were.
When you invested?
No, when we invested, they were already launched.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ali. And if anyone else has any questions, please keep raising your hands, and I can just keep asking you. So I also have a question, a little basic maybe, but it might be useful for a lot of people. When approaching an investor, so in terms of the startup readiness, what are some of the documents, some of the prerequisites that are necessary for a startup to have before they actually go ahead and reach out to an investor? And so basically, what kind of due diligence do you do before you consider investing in a startup?
Yeah. I think that's an important question, and I should have covered that earlier. But so it again varies from what stage you're at. Early on, honestly, the emphasis is around, I think, and every investor you speak to will say this, is on the founding team. And then what we like to do when we are doing early stage investment is we will meet founders over a period of time and see the progress that has been made. It can be, sort of we met day one and then we met day 7. So in that time period, what really happened in that company? And early days, execution and speed is very, very important. And in a lot of cases, those early metrics that you're sort of setting out for yourselves are very important. Then early days, I think a lot of focus is on the quality metrics. So things like how many repeat users do you have? How much time are they spending on the platform? How much, if it's an e-commerce, how much are they spending? And that was a very early sign for us at Airlift, because the early customers that were adopting were using it 5 times a week and twice every day, right? Because a lot of people started using that to go to work. A lot of people who would use their other vans, start calling Airlift and saying, if this is a service that's here to stay, then we're going to cancel our existing service. So those were very, very good indicators. But as you grow, your metrics sort of, start to plan out on revenue side, on customer side, depending on, again, whether you're a B2B company or B2C company. For a B2B company, having 3 large customers might even be a very, very big deal, depending on what you're doing. But when you reach out to investor, I think your first investment deck that you're sending, the key focus is to just grab enough attention from that. I don't think the first investment deck is, the purpose is, okay, I'm going to send that and secure funding out of that. in some cases that's also happened, but the goal is to catch enough attention from that. And typically how you would do that is you would mention, the founding team, and then if the key metrics of the business on traction, and then you would maybe end with a quick ask on what you really need from that person you're sending the email to, right? In a lot of cases, having that upfront rather than leaving it to interpretation or having too many things in that deck might be counterproductive. And then once you if that deck is successful and then there is a follow-up call, then investors will ask for your financial metrics. They will ask for your other user metrics, and at least in that case, then I think the conversation goes forward. If it goes forward, I think if it's a VC, they'll have an investment committee in which they will either say yes or no, and then post that. Some people will do legal due diligence along the way. Some will do it post an investment decision. So that process honestly varies from who the investor is.
Absolutely. And so in terms of, once you look at if we talk about your fund in particular, so once you've taken a look at the pitch deck, let's say, and it's kind of piqued your interest, so what's the next step? What kind of documents do you ask for next?
Yeah, so in terms of our process, I think over the last month, I think June and July, we received maybe 70 to 80 companies, and we're only reviewing about 6 of them. Right. So I think for us, the next step would be if we've done our first review, we typically meet every week or every 2 weeks, depending on how many companies we have, and then we would decide based on what opportunities are available and which ones we should prioritize. And then if you're through step 1, then we'll have a meeting. Typically, it will be at least one of the partners from the fund and the investment team. And then post that meeting, I think if it clears that, we will then ask for a follow-up questionnaire, which will have all the different kinds of aspects on the product side, on the market side, on the team, on the financials, and then post that, I think we will decide if we are to take it to the investment committee.
Right, perfect. And Adil, I think, has a question. So Adil, you can go ahead and.
Hi Ali, this is Adil from Cum Laude, after school health marketplace. So just a quick question, what are the 5 key sectors that you're looking at right now in terms of investment?
So in terms of, I'll tell you what we're seeing in terms of most of the deals, and if you look at sort of some of the other regions, this is where most of the funding has gone into, and that's been fintech, it's been logistics, it's been sort of your e-commerce players, and it's been health tech, ed tech, and other consumer areas. So around this areas, I think we're seeing most of the deals that are coming to us within these 4 or 5 key areas. Sort of what you in ecosystems, what you would say are generation 1 startups, and then as you go on. So for example, if you take an example of fintech, layer 1 will be payments infrastructure company, then there will be a lending company, and then as this goes on, there will be niche lending companies, then there will be KYC companies that support lending. So that's how ecosystems develop, and we're sort of seeing how those patterns are evolving in Pakistan. But at the same time, we're right now, I think it's very early. So we're open to other opportunities.
Perfect. Thanks.
Thank you. And anyone else has any questions? Saad, yes. You can just 1 minute. Saad, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Thanks. Hi, Ali. This is Saad Wasim. I'm co-founder of Printable.pk. That is essentially a design and print marketplace. So my question is about the taxation side of the investment, like when a startup has successfully raised funding. So how that the taxation is handled in Pakistan?
But I'm definitely not an expert on taxation. I think, but if there's a specific aspect of that you're, is it on sales tax? Is it on investment gains? What aspect? Maybe I can address that, but definitely not an expert on the subject.
You know, like when a startup goes for funding with potential and the customer base, as you have like invested in Airlift, so
Yeah.
how the like is there any any like concerns about that the startup need to take care of on the taxation side and the financials, because at the end of the day the startup need to like make some returns over on that investment as well?
Yeah, obviously. So one of the considerations for investment would be that if the company, given where it is tax compliant, you know, and then from an investment consideration, I think what you're talking about is capital gains tax, which is usually at the event of capital gains. But I'm not being able to specifically understand the question.
All right.
Saad, do you want to explain your question a little bit?
Yes, basically, like I am just trying to understand because I have heard that there is a kind of term sheet that the both parties have to agree on when the startup is going for an investment, and let's say if there's going to be an investment of say like 5 million PKR. So at that, like that money will be added to the company account. So eventually when you are holding that money in your company account, so after some time there has to be and like the company needs to go through a proper audit of accounts and then the filing of returns. So how are those things like being handled on the startup and on the company end, who is like gaining that capital?
No, so that capital will come into the company as an investment, and as I understand, if there is a gain on that investment, obviously then there's a tax liability. But let's say if there is no gain, then I don't see a reason. But definitely I would refer to a tax advisor on this.
Okay, thank you.
Great. So everyone, we have a feedback form. I've put in the link over here in chat. If you can just take 2 minutes to please fill it out so that we can actually see and offer you as much value as possible through all of these workshops. And Ali, so I just have one last question for you, and then we let you go. So, so as a VC fund and as a person who evaluates pitch decks and all these startups, what would you say is a set of maybe your top 3 criteria that you use to evaluate a startup or a pitch deck? or what do you lean towards?
Okay, I think so. I think I might have mentioned some of that. So if forgive me if there's repetition, but in terms of when we're evaluating companies, and again based on where they are, top three things is who the founding team is, what they've been able to execute on at that given point, and that execution means different things based on which stage you're at, and what the future could look like, right, for that company. Because essentially when we're coming in with a vision of what this could become at a point in the future, and then based on that we are making decisions. But also part of our decision making is what kind of benefits it can provide to the community, to the country, as well as to employees within the company, and the larger ecosystem. So all those come into our consideration when we're making decisions.
Right. And I think Zulfikar, just one last question. Actually, just one last question. I think Zulfikar has a question. He raised his hand.
Hello.
Zulfikar, you can, yes.
Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Ali Sab, my name is Zulfikar and I'm the CEO and founder of Cargo Tech. We are connecting shippers with commercial transport. So we have been facing a lot of problems, in the commercial transport. People are very less aware of this system, and we are connecting them same like Uber and Careem. So what are the possibilities for the companies like us to get financial assistance in the market, and how to proceed with this? Can you please guide us?
So basically, as I understand, you're running Cargo Tech, which is right now looking for investment opportunities.
Yes, of course.
Okay. No, again, depending on, I think if it's depending on where you are in the company, so possible opportunities, if depending again on what your vision is, you can definitely reach out to VC funds in the country. You can also reach out within your network to players that might be interested in logistics and want to invest. One thing I think I'll mention that might be of benefit to everyone. So VC investments are looking for growth when they're coming into companies, and execution at a very fast pace, and sort of scaling the company rapidly, and in some cases it might not be the best avenue for all kinds of investments, but definitely understanding what your investment goals are, what your company vision is, whether that aligns with who your investor is important.
Thank you.
Great, thank you, Ali. I think yes, no one else has any questions. So Ajif, do you want to add anything before we let Ali go?
No, I think first of all, thank you so much, Ali, for taking out the time and always supporting. I think this session was very valuable, and we'll keep connecting some of these startups to you for possible conversations. I think I introduced Shopper to you recently, but probably more of them who were maybe somewhat ready to start having these conversations. And with this, thank you so much for your time.
No, thank you. I hope it was useful, and if I can be of any help to anyone, please feel free to reach out.